Right, so stakeholders in South Africa's advertising, music, publishing and film industries, they're taking their fight against the Copyright Amendment and Performer Protection Amendment bills to the Constitutional Court. They argue that the legislation threatens the sustainability and the rights of creatives. Rabbi Mashabela, director at Mashabela Attorneys, joins us this morning perhaps to unpack the legal concerns, the potential impact as well on the country's creative industry and future at large. Rabbi, very good morning. Thank you for your time at this hour.
Good morning, Lizelle, and good morning to the viewers.
Let's get into the crux of the matter. What's really at play here? Public interest versus obviously the rights of creatives in the long term.
Yes, first and foremost, let me just send my condolences to the Faku family.
Thank you.
And one loss of an artist is a loss to the country as well as the economy. But perhaps before I go on, Lizelle and the viewers, I just have to indicate how important the creative industry is to the economy. In the past financial year, it contributed 3% to the GDP. And you can imagine that. And it almost surpassed the agricultural sector. And it's anticipated that in the next half a decade, it could actually catch up with the real estate and other sectors. So it's quite important. But look, just to go back to your question, this battle, the concerns that were raised by the creative industry and the copyright owners was actually taken by the president to the Constitutional Court for consideration of their constitutionality. Yeah. That is because the president had concerns about the retrospective effect of the two bills, the copyright bill as well as the performance bill. Yeah. Essentially, what the president says is that the bill has its retrospective effect and it's going to have a huge impact on the owners of the copyrights, and it should be reviewed by the Constitutional Court. But let's remind the viewers that the intention of the two bills, essentially, among others, was to try and better the lives of the creatives in the industry when it comes to royalties sharing especially. But what is also very important for the viewers to know and the creatives is that as we speak, the royalties are held by a lot of collecting agencies, and these collecting agencies must be approached by the creatives to be able to disperse the funds over to them. So even as this pushback and the Constitutional Court looking at the matter now, it's important for the creatives to know that there are some royalties that are already with the collecting agencies. So it's very, very important for the creatives to know that.
When we look at what this legal challenge is all about, perhaps what's under scrutiny as well, I wonder if we could also just look at why this affects the public at large. In terms of consumption in this digital era, right?
Yes.
Even if we benchmark it against best practices internationally, what's coming to the fore? What rights are currently lacking? How does it become modernized? Where are the gaps, the proponents versus the opponents in the matter?
Look, the gaps are here. These two bills are quite old. You would understand that they're actually almost 60 years old.
Yeah.
And they need to be brought up to the international standards. Yeah. But of importance, Lizelle and the viewers, is that not only the international standards are important and the modernization as well, but also the peculiar South African issues that are happening is very important. The issues of sharing music through social media, the issues of social gatherings, playing music with commercialized social gatherings, in fact, commercialized without the artists knowing. So it's very, very important. Not only modernizing it, but also making sure that the peculiar South African activities that are happening are also taken care of. For instance, I can just give an example and say, in a lot of social gatherings, there are a lot of music that has been played, and that music is consumed, but the owners and the creatives are not aware of it. Oof. So it's very, very important that that be taken into account as well. Yes.
I wonder at this point if the law can be fairly applied, and if it is going to pass constitutional muster. I guess this is what it needs to prove at the end of the day, but also just the impact that we've seen artists face as a result. So to your point, not knowing that it's being used, many dying as paupers, the reality on the ground. Tell us a little bit more about why at this juncture it's so important to speed up the process as well.
It's absolutely important because there's a notion, well, fiction or fact, there's a notion that artists are dying paupers, but there are also other contributing factors, according to me, that are contributing to that.
Okay.
Because the music industry, for instance, or the creative space as a whole, is a dynamic space. It requires one to be business savvy, for instance. It requires one to be financially literate. It requires one to attend workshops and be knowledgeable. I remember there's a renowned artist, Mama Abigail Gubega, once indicated that there's a knowledge deficit in the creative space. So it's very important for artists to actually keep on learning so that they can know their industry, equip themselves with the necessary knowledge, attend the workshops so that they can be able to equip themselves in the meantime. Yeah. So it's very, very important that these creatives attend these workshops, equip themselves, and so that they can have the necessary knowledge to make sure that they actually do not die paupers at the end.
Yeah. Well, we're monitoring that, and thank you for joining us and providing that context. Rabbi Mashabela this morning, chatting all things relation to the protection of intellectual property and the Copyrights Amendment Bill, of course, that is going to be facing off at the Constitutional Court, the legal concerns around it, but also just the potential impact on the country's creative future as we navigate it in this fourth industrial revolution, and also benchmark it against best international practice. Again, thank you to Rabbi for joining us at this hour.